with you. We say a very good morning to my next guest. Delighted to have him on. Always love having him on. Brendan O'Neill, chief political writer at Spike. Brendan, good morning. God,
Hi, Jeremy.
We've got some stories this morning. I'll tell you what, take your pick. The police, the BBC or the Bulgarian benefits cheat? What do you want, my friend?
Where to start? They're all as mad as each other. I mean, the Bulgarian benefit story is unbelievable. That's a real corker for your listeners this morning. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
It is completely extraordinary. If you're just tuning in, this is a woman, Tsvetka Todorova, jailed for 3 years in May for her role in a conspiracy that stole £54 million, okay, from the British taxpayer. This woman was given 3 years. She served 18 months only, and is now back home in her London home, which is paid for by you, the British public. She and her husband, who can no longer work, because she's so depressed at what jail did to her, it's my favourite bit, they're getting £1,300 a month, 1,300 quid a month, Brendan, in universal credit. What message does that send?
It just sends the message that Britain is a laughingstock, I'm afraid to say. I love this country, but my God, we're going downhill. I mean, there are so many questions around this story. The most fundamental one is, should foreign-born nationals have access to welfare benefits in this country? And there are lots of people who say, no, they shouldn't. Welfare benefits are for people who've been here for generations, who've paid in for a very long time. Yeah. That's why it was created. That's what it was invented for. The authors of the welfare system would be turning in their graves if they saw what was happening right now. And then to make it even worse, not only does she defraud us of millions of our hard-earned tax, she then comes out and gets more benefits. I mean, it is just the craziest story doing the rounds at the moment. I think if someone from overseas commits a crime as grave as this one, they should not be allowed to stay in the country.
I think they should be deported as well. I'm completely... there's so much response to this. Sharon in Staffordshire, I'm absolutely livid this Bulgarian woman who stole 54 million quid from the system is still in the UK and getting that money. It's a bloody joke. She should be deported. Good morning, Phil. What do you think?
Morning. Phil in Nottingham here. Poppy, so nice of you to have Jezza on your breakfast show this morning. It's nice to see that you're inclusive. Just a quick note. So, how long a sentence did the people who put hurty words on social media get? And then you compare that to 18 months for stealing £54 million of taxpayers' money. Where's the balance? Where's the balance in all of this? Honestly, mate, it's ridiculous. You know, I'm up at 4 a.m. every morning to drive my lorry 5 days a week. I've even got to the point where I'm doing agency work on a Saturday. I did 12 and a half hours this Saturday just to try and get some extra money in the bank because my bills have rocketed so much, and I'm doing all of this for what? Honestly, mate, I could rip my hair out. Lovely to speak to you, Poppy. Keep up the good work.
Brendan, he's spot on, isn't he? He's absolutely spot on.
He's spot on, and he's really controlling his anger there very, very well. I'm not sure that many other people will be able to do that, because he's right. There are millions of people in this country working their socks off to make ends meet, working hard to keep a roof over their head, to keep their children healthy, to keep life going. And then they see stories like this. Yeah. And, you know, the stories like this aren't just about the person who defrauded us. It's about the whole government. It's about our borders. It's about whether we have a political class that is willing to do anything about these issues. And obviously they're not. So we're being swindled not only by people from overseas who come here and take some welfare money that they don't deserve, we're being swindled by the government itself. And that's what really sticks in the craw, I think, for the hard-working people of this country.
Couldn't agree more. John in Yorkshire says, Jez, I was under the impression that if you falsely claim benefits, you have your benefits stopped until the DWP recoup the loss. And this is really interesting, by the way, Brendan. Jeff in, well, he says up north, I'm a DWP work coach. If you could see the money we pay out to people, you'd be demanding action. More than half of claimants are working cash in hand, not declaring the income and receiving universal credit and housing costs, on top of many thousands of pounds in cash in handwork, and we're basically powerless. Our fraud department doesn't look at anything unless it's over the £10,000 threshold. Millions of people are claiming universal credit whilst working for cash as cleaners, gardeners, plasterers, mechanics, labourers, car washers, etc., etc. It's outrageous. And DWP staff are powerless to do anything. We are drowning in these payments. I regularly see claims over £4,000. The myth of the cap does not bear looking at. It is utter madness, and I work in that system. That's rather telling, isn't it?
Incredibly telling. And, you know, it really makes me mad because I think welfare is a good idea in its original idea. You know, where if someone is really struggling or someone is disabled or for whatever reason someone cannot work, then it's right for society to step in and help that person. But the system we have now is undermining all of that. It is massively undermining the British people's trust in the whole idea of welfare, because welfare has become a soft touch. It's become a system that people here can exploit in order to get extra money on top of what they're getting cash in hand. And it's even become a system that people from overseas can exploit and send our money back to their family.
People are seething. I've got one more call and we'll move on. This person doesn't want to give their name. It's fine. This is also on the Bulgarian benefits fraudster. Have a listen.
Morning, Jezza. I need to remain anonymous for this message to do with benefit cheats and that stuff. That woman who stole £54 million, the Bulgarian woman. I know someone. I can't go into details, but I know someone who works in the benefit office, and this person had to deal with a claimant who had £400,000 of savings, and this person still wanted to claim universal credit. I kid you not. It really makes my blood boil. Anyway, have a good day.
It is a system, as you quite rightly say, in great honesty, Brendan, that was set up to do good and is being completely torn from pillar to post. Let's move to the police if we can. A couple of shocking stories, and we try hard on this breakfast show and on this station to try and find those stories that matter. I don't know if you saw the footage on Friday night. There's a restaurant, the Meissen restaurant in Notting Hill. Pro-Palestinian protesters targeting this Israeli restaurant. This is, I'm not going to put the sound up, it was disgusting. It was basically a family-run business. This has been happening to businesses, to companies and to individuals since October the 7th. I've been long saying that anti-Semitism is rife, but you watch. The Met Police do bugger all. They stand there and do nothing. They don't respond. They don't have an opinion. You've got the chief of the Met Police today on the front of the Times saying, stop criticising us. Capital homicide rates are falling. And yet last week we proved on this show, as did many in the media, that there are 300 criminals, rapists and sex offenders still employed by the Metropolitan Police. It is beyond contempt. We talk about a benefit system. Now the very people who are supposed to sustain law and order, so many are wrong uns, and so many of the decisions seem to be ideologically wrong as well.
Yeah, I've got some bad news for the Met. We're not going to stop criticising you because you deserve a lot of criticism. And, you know, after that horrendous gathering outside the Jewish-owned restaurant, the Metropolitan Police said, we're aware of protests that took place in London last night. No, this was not a protest. It was an anti-Semitic attack on a restaurant where families were trying to enjoy their meals. That's what it was. And it really it's like the modern day version of the brown shirts. Yeah. You know, when you're gathering outside a Jewish-owned restaurant or a Jewish-owned business, we know that Palestine Action smashed up Jewish-owned businesses in Stamford Hill last year. When you're doing that, you are not one of the good guys. In fact, you are echoing fascist behavior from the past. I'm old enough to remember when it was fascists who would gather outside Jewish restaurants or smash Jewish-owned businesses or launch attacks on Jewish people whose only crime is that they are in support of Israel. That used to be fascists who did that. Now it's so-called progressives and leftists. I think that action last night was repulsive. And the fact that the Metropolitan Police stood around is hideous. They would not have stood around if it was a bunch of white working class blokes protesting outside a mosque. They would have taken action. So why did they not take action here?
It's interesting what Sarah in Liverpool says. Security Council employees lose their jobs because of debt, yet police have criminal records and are still able to serve. I think it's a real issue. We've talked about this repeatedly. We've talked about the story in the West Midlands, the Maccabi Tel Aviv Jewish football fans banned from attending. That dodgy police chief Craig Guilford quizzed in Parliament the other day. I mean, blatantly, I don't care if this goes down like a lead balloon. He banned those fans. He talks about community leaders. It is basically anti-Semitic. It is to, I think, placate the Muslim community. We've shown videos of Muslim community people or suspect leaders saying, we don't want the Jews here. It's absolutely outrageous. And something has to give in this country. But once you lose faith in the police, and you know, I'm sitting here this morning, Brendan, right, and I'm thinking, right, so the benefit system can be screwed by foreign people and those who live here. The police, it's two-tier. They're anti-Semitic. If my watch is nicked or my phone or my shop's burgled, they don't even turn up. Yet if I write something, they'll put me in jail. And let's bring it on to our state broadcaster, front page of The Sun. Yeah. They want to increase their licence fee from 174 quid to 180 potentially. Just, you have to pay that or you could be in trouble. Whether or not you watch it, we discovered today, great piece in The Sun, £63 million on cabs for presenters, guests and equipment. We're living in this universe, in this country that seemingly there's no common sense. Everything is upside down.
Absolutely. We're being let down by the welfare system. We're being let down by the police, the people who should look after us. And now the state broadcaster is taking the mick, which, to be fair, they've been doing for quite some time. Sure. I read in that Sun piece that the amount they're going to spend on cabs is the equivalent to 361,000 licence fee payments. So that's 361,000 Brits who are paying for these people to be ferried around left, right and centre in cabs to do their stupid shows that most of us don't watch. That's what we're talking about. It's like an extortion racket where the BBC is twisting our arm for yet more money to make shows that are increasingly unpopular. You know, the only thing I watch on the BBC now is The Traitors. Everything else, I just I look somewhere else. The licence fee system is an outdated, archaic system. It just doesn't work in the 21st century when we all choose our own streaming services and we watch what we want to watch. The idea that we should be compelled to pay for these people's luxurious lifestyles and their fat pay packets, it doesn't work anymore.
I've left the best to last because I don't know, we were only handed this an hour ago and even I, who's done this for quite a while, nearly fell off my bleeding chair. Poppy, help me up. I'm not going to get the guy's names right. He's called Abu Zabuyeda. This gentleman was basically detained in Guantanamo Bay between 2002 and 2006. Can I just make this point to you, Brendan, and people listening? He's never been to the United Kingdom. He's never set foot in my country. He's never been here. When he was being quizzed by the CIA, there he is on screen, nice. The CIA took some advice from MI5 about perhaps questioning techniques. Some advice. This man gets himself the lawyer, one of these legal eagles, I suspect, sues the British government for being complicit in his imprisonment. You know, the war on terror. And the UK government has settled out of court a substantial sum. So they want to be able to come here and steal our benefits, people. I'm not being upsetting. And now you can be in another country and not even live in the United Kingdom and get millions because apparently our government helped in some way get you prosecuted for a terror crime.
I know. I'm speechless. I actually don't know what to say, except that this is indicative of the fact that the world has gone completely insane and we live under a government that has no cojones whatsoever, because they should have laughed in this man's face. They should have recorded themselves laughing in this man's face and shared it on the internet. That's what I would have done if I was anywhere near the levers of power. It's preposterous. It really is genuinely preposterous. And it proves that there is no limit to the mick that can be taken out of this country at the moment. Welcome welfare being nicked, the BBC taking money that we can't afford to give them, and now this bloke from Guantanamo Bay suing us and getting our money because of some some social justice warrior who probably said to him, listen, you can get a few bucks of the stupid British government. It's outrageous.
You know, it's something I was listening to you there, the sound of your voice and what I was saying before. And I find myself even at this point sometimes wondering, genuinely, is this really happening? Is such incompetence, is such a lack of common sense so prevalent? But that, to me, sums up where we're at in this country.
Yeah, completely sums it up. And it is that kind of incompetence, stupidity, but also there's something sinister going on as well, because there must be people in the corridors of power who know that this is ridiculous and they won't do anything about it. They'd rather save their own skins than raise a controversial point. We live under cowards and incompetents and idiots, and it's got to change. Mate, it's always so great to have you. It's a great start to our week. We look forward to having you back on very soon. Brendan O'Neill, thank you so much, Chief Political Writer of Spiked. 7:22, your response to these stories. We'd love to get your voice notes, 0344 419 1000.